to Three Things at 3. We're so glad you joined us. Shout out to Carol from Harriman, Heidi's on, Chris, Janine. Welcome, everybody. It's so fun to have you. As you notice, we're minus our fearless leader. She is with the baby. So we're hoping she's having a great time. Lots of love to Chris, but welcome to Three Things at 3, where thing number 1, something to make you smile. That's your cue to smile, Crystal.
Oh, yeah.
Thing number 2, we're going to teach you something today. And thing number 3, we have some fun things to discover. Yep. So let's go. And we're back. And we're back. Look who we found. Hey, I've got the dream team together.
It's like old times.
I wish you guys could have been here. I wish it was kind of like Oprah, you know, where you have the before and the after show, because we were laughing so hard as Melissa was regaling us with tales of her son Noah. And I said, you need to tell him that. She's like, oh, I have. Oh, I have.
You guys, if you've been here, you know Noah.
Yep. Yeah. I want Noah to be a guest. In fact, we all want Noah to be a guest.
I don't think he would be appropriate enough to be on the show. I just don't think he could do it.
Yeah, we need Kids Week and we need to have guests. But instead, welcome everybody. It's kind of Kitchen Week here at 3 at 3, and we have had a blast. Have you guys been watching?
Yes.
All right, who's made button cookies? Has anybody just gone home and made the button cookies yet? They're cute. Christy says you've been missed. They would love to have Noah on.
Christy, we got to make that happen. We really
yes. So we've talked about button cookies. We've had casserole characters. Casserole characters.
I was going to say
casserole carriers. So yeah, we have had just a really, really fun week and some things. But one thing we want to talk about, and I need everybody's help because we all have them, right? Kitchen fails. Okay, Jackie started us off talking about her scrambled eggs. I mean, you know, that is just hilarious. And nothing like that on a brand new oven.
Oh, could you imagine? When she was talking about having to order new parts and everything, I'm like, oh yeah, yuck.
Right, but do you guys have some kitchen fails? You guys at home, do you have some kitchen fails? So I want to share one. It kind of shaped the way I cooked from the very beginning. But my mom was little. We used to have a publication, and those of you that are local will know what the Children's Friend was. But the Children's Friend was a magazine publication that would come in the mail every single month, and it would have stories and games, but it always had a recipe page. Okay. And it was recipes cooking for kids, right? Wrong. Wrong.
Kids with help.
Yeah, kids with help. Yeah, there should have been a caveat. But my mom was sick one time, and like flat down in bed sick, which never happened with my mom. But she was sick, so I took it upon myself that I was going to make dinner. So I got the friend out, and I followed that line by line. Okay.
How old are you?
Probably 8.
Okay.
8. So I am, so it said add the egg noodles. So I get the egg noodles out, I add them. Nowhere in that recipe, I swear, does it say add cooked egg noodles. Then you added the chicken. Nowhere in that recipe does it say cooked chicken. Well, if you had help and you were a kid, obviously you would pre-cook all the things. But so I made this casserole.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing was cooked that I added in there. Stirred it up, put it on the table. It is the joke because my dad, bless his heart, tried to take a few bites. But then he's like, the dog would not eat the casserole. He put it down. So we had to go out to eat. I was heartbroken. I was just absolutely devastated because that casserole was so bad. So that was my very first attempt, A, at cooking, and B, at the kitchen fail, and C, Children's Friend publishers out there, you should say, with mom's help. What do you guys have?
Okay, so mine, brand new bride, wanting to impress the father-in-law big time. I was babysitting some people's house. I was going to make him a homemade peach pie because that was supposedly his favorite.
Yep.
So I get everything ready. I get in the little sugar container and measure out my 1 cup of sugar and do all this and get the whole pie. It's a beautiful pie. It looks really good. I get it over there. He takes 1 bite and he's like, and I'm like, what is the problem? You know, I made it exactly like I was supposed to. The people I was babysitting for had salt in their sugar container. So I made this delicious peach pie with a cup of salt. So, yeah, he wasn't very impressed. And I'm trying to tell him, it wasn't my fault.
He's like,
Yeah.
it's too late now,
Yeah.
you've married her.
He was trying to be nice. Yeah.
Oh. Okay, I've got several we could choose from, but when you're newly married,
Yeah.
I was trying to like impress Tony, and Martha Stewart had all these recipes, right, that are like delicious.
You don't jump right to Martha Stewart.
No.
Well,
Melissa.
she's a liar anyway. Delicious. Hamburger.
Martha, if you're watching, we love you.
Sorry. Peanut butter and hamburger, that should have been your first clue. Bad. But I was like,
Okay.
we could try it. No, it was bad. It was
Oh.
terrible.
You put peanut butter on hamburger.
It was in like, and like I've heard people do that, like a peanut sauce, but it wasn't a peanut sauce.
It was peanut butter.
It was peanut butter. And
You mixed
it just,
with the hamburger.
yeah, it didn't
No.
go well. We went out to dinner that night too.
So, moral of the story. So, you guys know Shel Silverstein.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My favorite poem from Shel Silverstein is one about dishes, but it goes with cooking too, right? So we're just going to say it and substitute. But if it says, if you have to do the dishes, such an awful boring chore. If you have to do the dishes and you drop one on the floor, maybe you won't have to do the dishes anymore.
I love it.
So, moral of the story is,
Yep.
if you are a bad cook, maybe you don't have to cook the dinner anymore.
That's cute. I love that.
I think I told you guys earlier, my sister-in-law made a casserole one time. She was probably 16, and it did not go well. So she buried the entire thing in the backyard. Like glass dish
The
and
dish and
everything.
everything?
Everything. Just the whole thing in the backyard.
Did anybody?
Well, yeah, we found it because it was in the garden. So like,
You're like, kink.
exactly.
What is this?
That's funny.
Oh, yep. Well, Christy says hamburgers with peanut butter are a big deal in the restaurants here, so it might be
I
good.
think the recipe, there was probably something else that went wrong in it because that's what I've blamed it on for all these years, but it was terrible. I don't know. It was not good.
I'm just saying, that's like, if you're going to start quilting, don't. I mean,
I know.
start with a granny square. Don't start with the
Lone Star.
Lone Star. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think we've all had those moments. Jackie was cracking me up. We were talking about it at lunch today, and Jackie's like, I remember being a new bride, and her husband had to take cinnamon rolls to work.
Wow.
And so she made these beautiful cinnamon rolls. They did not cook in the middle. They were completely raw.
Oh.
And she's like, my husband to this day will not allow me to make cinnamon rolls.
Oh, that's funny.
So Donna said she was cooking fresh duck. Okay, see, now Donna, that's another like jumping to Martha Stewart.
Yeah, it is.
That you have to graduate. So, but she didn't know you had to take the buckshot out, and she cooked it.
Oh my gosh.
And her mother-in-law didn't say a word.
Bless her.
That
soul.
was
So,
sweet.
right. My mother-in-law is and so is my mom, fantastic cook. In fact, my mother-in-law was the cook for Adam's school, for the head
Oh,
cook for a long
nice.
time, which has proved very, very profitable for us, because if she makes one pie, she makes 10.
Oh.
So she's always
Yes.
calling saying, I just have a few extra. She doesn't know how to cook for more than, or less than
Less than-
300
Yes.
people. But
It's a lot to live up to.
Yes,
right?
exactly. That's what I was
Yeah.
trying to get at, Melissa. It really is a lot.
My grandma, if you've been on Utah State campus, some of you have, in the, used to be the hub. Now what is it called? I don't know. Anyway, she opened Hazel's bread.
Oh,
Hazel
wow.
is my grandma.
Oh, how
Yeah.
special.
Have I mastered that bread recipe?
Not DNA, huh?
No.
All right. Well, we had a really great time on thing number 1. We'd love for you to post your kitchen fails or your kitchen successes.
Yes.
In Friends, My Girlfriends. Let us all know. It's been so fun. Like I said, we've laughed about them all day long. But we're going to transition over to thing number 2, because you guys have a really great project for us.
Fun.
And while you do, I'm going to go to the kitchen. So, so we'll see you in just a few minutes.
Having trouble threading your needle? Let's talk about the Never Miss Needle Threader from Baby Lock. Pull my thread over here to the left, up and around and down, just following this thread path. It's even numbered for me. Up and back down. Pull the thread back behind the needle bar and over to 7 and cut. Ready to see the magic happen? Push this button. You can find this feature on most of their top-of-the-line machines. Find your Baby Lock machine at My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop and mygirlfriendsquiltshop.com.
Okay, here we are.
This is fun to be back with Crystal.
It is. It is
a long
fun.
time.
I've missed this.
I know, it is fun.
Okay, are you ready to learn a new something?
Always.
So
Always.
today we were all at lunch, a whole bunch of us. Man, what was there, like 13,
Oh, yeah.
14 of us all went to lunch, and I talked about what I was going to demo today. I was shocked at how many people have never done bias binding. It was crazy. Bias binding has so many uses. There's so many good places that you'd use bias binding versus just a regular straight on the grain binding. So today we are making, it's called the Easy-Peasy Casserole hot pad, and we are making one of these. And obviously it takes bias binding. You have a lot of turn to go around.
Yeah, you do.
If you tried using a straight on the grain binding, you're going to struggle going around these turns. But when you cut your binding on the bias, look how easy that goes around there. There's no bumps, there's
beautiful,
no
yeah.
curves, nothing. It just goes all the way around there really nice and straight. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to do the way I do it. So there are several ways to do bias binding, but this way I learned many years ago, and it probably saved me a lot of time, because if I was just cutting my strips on the bias and then sewing all those together, you have a whole lot of strips to sew together, and that's not my favorite part of making binding, is sewing all those strips together. So what we're going to do today is show you a method of how to do this and make a tube, basically, and then you just have to make one seam and then cut them apart. So let's get started. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to figure out how much binding you need. And when you make the tube, the bias binding in the tube, you're using a square of fabric. So this one, all it required was a fat quarter. And it's hard to believe that you can get all that binding out of a fat
No, it's
quarter
impressive.
fabric.
Huh.
But that's the first thing you need to do. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take and you're just going to cut that fat quarter from end to end diagonally right across. So we're just going to go right across here, move it down just a little bit, and finish the cut here. And just go right across like this. Then we're going to take, and this is the tricky part, you have to know how to lay them so that when you put it together, you're going to actually get a tube. So then you're going to lay it like this, and you're going to sew right down this seam. So actually, I was wrong. You do have two places you sew. So you'll sew right down that seam. And I've already done that, and I have it right here. And so we sewed down that seam, we opened it up and pressed it, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to take and mark your lines. Okay? It's easy. Don't wait until you've made the tube to think you're going to mark these lines. You have to mark them ahead of time. So if you use 2 1/4 inch binding, some people like 2 1/4 inch. I like 2 1/2. You're going to mark your lines 2 1/2 apart. Just start from one end and just mark up 2 1/2 all the way. And then you're going to take, this is kind of the tricky part, and you're going to fold these together. Now, you would think, okay, that's how I'm going to do them, and I'm going to line them up. But that's not going to work, because then you're just going to get a whole bunch of loops. you're not going to get a continuous.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So now what you're going to do is you're going to take this right here, and you're going to take this line and this line and match them up. Does that make sense?
So you're just sliding it down.
So you're
one.
just sliding it 1 2.5 inch section up. Then you'll just take your pins and you're going to just pin it right along that line there. I'll do that real quick. And then you're just going to use your 1/4 inch seam allowance and just like this. And I kind of just look this way just to make sure my lines match up pretty close. And you're going to be off just a tiny bit because you're using your 1/4 inch. So when you fold it out, you have to remember that 1/4 inch is going to be in there. So if you lined it up exactly, then when you went to cut it, it's not going to work. So what I'm going to have Melissa do here is she's just going to sew.
It's like she's forgotten ever doing this with me before.
What's that? Sewing?
I'll have you sew.
You will do fine, I promise. And she'll go right out to the end here. So let me get one more pin in there. And just use your 1/4 inch and sew right along that line. So right from there to there. And while we're doing that, I wrote down a few things. I'll use my cheat sheet under here and talk about, so some of the reasons you want to use a bias binding versus a regular binding, more stretch. So when you're
First of all, I don't even know how
doing
to
it
finish
on the bias, I'm gonna grab this piece of fabric, I'm just gonna show you. She's
I
sewing
tell you,
right
I don't know
now.
how to do this.
What's
Remember,
that?
I don't know how to use this machine. Where do I put the foot down with? Press her foot.
Okay, is it not putting it down?
How do I do it?
You were supposed to practice before.
I know I was. Oh, here we go. Nope, that's not it. I was supposed to practice.
Is it right behind?
No, I don't know.
There it is.
There it is. It's an easy one.
This is a different machine. We're not used to
This
this
is a
one up
different
here.
machine. I warned you.
This is called the Jazz 2.
Looks too nice for my.
It's
for
pretty
my
fancy.
usage.
Look at the throat
It looks,
width on that thing.
I know, it's beautiful.
This
That's
is the
what
one
I
you need for your quilting.
That is what I need. Why is it not working? Why is it not working?
Okay, baby, we won't be sewing
No,
this,
we
but
will.
that's okay. Just doesn't want to go for you. Okay, the foot pedal's not working on this one, so we're gonna.
Is it plugged in?
Okay, we're gonna try. Let's see if that works.
Okay.
And it's okay if it doesn't. We're just gonna use the pins and go ahead and demo that way.
Is it like, is the foot pedal attached?
I don't know.
This is why you practice things before you demo, you guys. Just like she said, practice before we do it. Okay.
Okay,
Dad.
let's just go ahead and
Sorry.
pretend like we've sewn that. That's okay.
We're gonna just, where did you do that at?
There you go.
There you go.
It doesn't even have a button on it. I was thinking maybe it had a button. Okay, so we're gonna just pretend, ladies, thanks for laughing along with us here.
Welcome
Blooper
back,
reels,
Crystal
I
and
love
Melissa.
it. So we're gonna pretend like that was sewn, right? So what we're gonna do instead, I'm just gonna move my pin so I don't cut through it here, is after that seam is sewn, you would press it open, and then you're just going to take and start cutting on your lines, pretending that that pin is out. I don't wanna cut with my scissors through that line. And what'll happen is when we cut it all the way around, it makes
Just go in one big
one continuous long piece of binding. Like I said, if you'd evened those lines up, then what would have happened is you would come around to this junction here, whatever you want to call it, and you would just have a loop. But because we have pinned it or sewn it, and we just keep going around and around, you will end up having one long string of binding. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so go all the way around, and this actually, just this one little fat quarter made enough binding to go all the way around this hot pad with a lot extra. I was surprised
That's
how much we
amazing.
had extra. Yeah,
Yeah, there's
because
quite a
you're
bit,
doing
you've got
you're
the
doing
edges
those.
too, yeah.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is some of the reasons you want to use a bias binding versus like a straight with the grain binding is it stretches more. It's much easier to apply around, to go around things. So especially if you're making like kids quilts, if you have a straight edge binding, when it starts to wear, when the kids rub on it, they're just rubbing on those threads that are going straight. So it's going to wear out really fast. When you have a bias binding and you rub on it, your threads are going this way, so it has much more wear and tear. Yeah, it's a lot more flexible, it's a lot more smooth, and it wears out a lot. It lasts a lot longer. It does not wear out as easy.
Perfect.
So yeah, so that makes it stronger. Like I said, going around turns, if you're using it in clothing, that's really good. Like if you're going around necks or sleeves, that's all like curves, you want to use a bias binding. So yeah. How many people have ever tried it? Allison, have you ever tried it?
I've never used a bias binding.
Have you ever used a bias binding?
Do you know me?
I always want to, especially when it's like a stripe or a plaid or a directional. I always wish I knew how, and I'm just not patient enough to watch a YouTube video or ask the question, so I just do the straight binding.
And if you didn't want to do the whole tube thing, what you would do, you do the exact same thing I did, cut it like this, then you would just take your 2.5 and you would just start cutting strips, 2.5-inch strips, just like this. Don't want to lean too far there. Here we go. You would cut all, and this is the other way that a lot of people do it this way. The only reason I don't like doing it this way is because I don't like connecting all those strips. I think that's kind of a pain in the neck to have to sit there, especially if you're doing a quilt and have a whole lot. So then you're just going to take your strips and you're going to lay them just like you would in regular binding and put them together. Let me think of how I'm doing this. Putting them together, sewing along the thing, and then when you open it up, however, I got it turned the wrong way. There we go. Then when you open it up.
There you go.
So you would lay them with your edges like this, sew it 1/4 inch, and when you open it up, you still have the same idea of binding, but you're still getting the bias binding effect.
Do you know how many times I've sewn it wrong?
Not done pick it.
Like you would think I would learn after the first
Oh,
time.
absolutely.
Done it several times.
Yeah, when I usually do it is when I'm connecting the binding at the very end of my quilt, and I get it all done, I cut it, I go to finish putting it on, and I have either twisted it, and I have a big twist in my binding, or I put it on backwards. And then you've already cut it, you've already trimmed it.
So frustrating.
And it's like now, I have to go all the way back, pick it out, add, so don't clip it until you've made sure.
Measure twice, cut once.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, that is, I mean, it's a really simple way of doing it. I love doing it this way. Tons of YouTube videos out there showing you. If you have any questions, you can, like I said, you can cut it whatever width you like to do your binding. And it's just, I mean, I've done
when you just
big,
lay it
huge,
out.
Yeah,
You're like,
I've done
"Oh."
great big huge quilts, and you know, doing it this way, you have a lot of strips to sit there and sew together. This way, you've sewn once, you've sewn twice, and you just take your scissors and start cutting. It just makes one long, continuous piece of binding. So yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
Learn anything?
a lot. I'm going to go home and bias bind tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all we have for right now, but we're going to take a quick break and we're going to meet you back here with Allison.
Let's talk the digital dual feed with Minky. Talk about frustration. Now with the help of the digital dual feed, I won't have any stretch when it comes to sewing this together. Beautiful.
I am so excited. I even have a quilt at home that I'm going to go home and try your bias binding. But we have a lot to discover today. So let's start with, should we start with a fun app you have? Should we start with the best?
Let's do the app first.
Okay.
Then if it doesn't go well, we can just end.
Absolutely. All right. Okay, so we were just talking about making bias binding, and the most confusing part of bias binding to me is figuring out how big I need to make that square prior to cutting my binding, because that determines how much you're going to get. So I have this amazing app. You guys don't need to see my little mouse. So I have this amazing app on my phone, and it is called the Quilting Calculator from Robert Kaufman. So you go to this, it's the Quilter's Little Helper, and then we're going to open it up. It's going to tell you, give their little fabric thing, and then it's going to ask you what you want to do. I want to make binding, so I just go right into the binding. I want the width of my binding to be a 2.5. Okay. My quilt is 50 wide by 50 long, and I want to hit bias binding. I can either do regular binding or bias, and I hit calculate, and right there it tells me I need a square in inches, 28-inch square to make my binding.
What?
That is amazing.
That is amazing.
It's so nice when somebody else does the calculating for you.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about that. So it's a Robert Kaufman, it's Quilter's Little Helper. It's a great app. It gives you things like how much backing. So how much backing you need, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I absolutely love this app. So if you get a chance, go on your, load it to your tablet, to your computer, wherever. Get the app for the Robert Kaufman fabrics. So
Is it a free app?
It is free. It's totally free.
fantastic.
Yep. So yeah, so now we're gonna try the next.
Yeah,
next
but
thing?
Crystal, I'm going to raise you up because for the first time in my life,
Okay,
now
I'm
those of you
trying to
that don't
find
know
the-
me, I am 5'3". I'm looking down on somebody.
Trying to find the lever. I don't see the
Here,
lever.
let me do it for you.
Thank you.
Oh,
there
come
we
up
go.
and join Melissa and
Now,
I.
now I feel better.
You know me always up high because
so
then I
low.
gotta keep it down
Okay,
later.
the next thing we have is that if you've never used a binding ease, this is called the binding ease. The binding ease is a fantastic tool. I put these under new releases on our website.
Awesome.
So there's a lot on our website.
I just saw this and
that
I
you
was
just saw
like,
this.
I gotta
You
get that.
actually put your iron on the binding ease and you can just pull your binding through and
Yep.
it makes tape. So fun.
It's got the little flaps on the side and hold it, everything.
Yes, we've had that a lot because that is a lot of our favorite tool.
Yeah.
And I also put up on the web today.
There's a
we
kit
have
over
a kit. So let me look at that hot pad close here. So this is the Easy-Peasy hot pad kit right here. And it is fantastic. Melissa actually had one that she brought our last Discover that you can just wrap it around. Here's for your hands. See
I've
here?
used it for years. It
I was
stands.
going to say, yours
It
is well loved.
Yeah.
So we have 3 different colorways.
Yep.
We do have that kit available. We will sell these tomorrow on Comments Sold, but we did put some up on the website today. So choose your favorite color and pick up
Yeah,
this
there's
whole
yellow,
kit. The pattern's
peach.
included in the kit.
Yeah.
And if you just want the pattern and you're a club member,
Oh,
it's
that's
free in
right.
the club. Free in the
And
club
you know what?
too.
Like, this is such a great gift because
Oh, yes.
speaking like of my grandma's bread, comes hot out of the oven, put it on here, take it to someone.
Wrap a little ribbon or something
Yeah,
around it.
it is.
Yeah, what a cute
Who
idea.
doesn't love that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, but the best part was
She knows.
Melissa sent me to, and I did my favorite cookie. I heated this up in the microwave. So, Melissa, talk about what you brought because I
guys,
heated this up in the
Could
microwave
this
and
be a
brought this.
kitchen fail? Maybe. We will see. I don't know. It's a garden casserole.
A
We've
garden
been talking
casserole.
about garden
'Kay.
all summer, right? They've been going to the flower garden center.
Yep.
Yep.
Anyway, so zucchini, carrots, and onions all came out of my garden.
Yay! That's special.
We'll try it. And it's got stuffing on the bottom. And then the
It smells
zucchini
delicious.
mix.
I know, it does
And
so
then
good.
a
Don't
little bit
mind
of-
me. I'm having a bite.
I said I made
try it too.
a individual serving size and
Yeah, she's all sad. She's like, I didn't know you were going to be on,
that
Allison, so I
cheese?
just
There's
made an
cheese on the
individual
top.
serving. Look at the size of this. I'm like, well, how much is Crystal going to eat? Because I think I'm going to have a
Do
bite.
you remember how many people are at my house? I usually am making like a serving size that's like,
That's delicious. Are you going to post that recipe?
I did, I gave it to Eric.
Okay.
Okay.
That's really
bad?
good.
Did we not talk about I'm not a casserole person?
I know, we did talk
we
about
talked
that.
about that. That is good.
Yep.
That
go.
is really
Okay.
good.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to have another bite
I'm glad.
before you give it all to Crystal.
So, onions, carrots, zucchini, cheese.
So then
Stuffing.
I make my own cream chicken soup base. So that, sour cream, and then just the veggies.
That's delicious.
There you
It'd
go.
be
That's
really
really
good
good,
with
yeah.
chicken in it too.
Yeah,
So,
it would.
yeah.
It's like a vegetarian.
Yum,
You could do
yum,
either
yum.
way.
All right, that I'm glad we discovered that.
Yeah.
And thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you too. That was really fun. Like I said, I have wanted to learn about bias binding. I mean, how many years have I been sewing? And when you asked me today, I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to do a bias binding.
I was surprised. I was surprised how many of us ladies all sitting there at lunch, nobody ever was like, nah, it's scary. I don't do that.
Yep. So check out new releases. All the things from all week have been on new releases. But can you believe it's Thursday already?
I know.
Ladies.
I know. It went fast.
This is our last 3 at 3 this week, and this has been a really, really fun week. So thank you for joining us. Be sure to check out Comment Sold tomorrow at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. What? 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. Mountain Time, whatever. Yes, and grab this hot
Yeah.
pad pattern at the very least, but pick up
Yeah.
a kit
Yeah.
because the kit even comes. You've even included the Insulbright
Yes,
in the
yes.
kit so that it is
Yep.
ready to go. And it's so fun to be with you too.
It's
It's
so
so
fun
fun
to
to
be here
have
with
you
you
back.
I know. This was a fun show.
Yeah.
Even with the bloopers. Hey, now we have a blooper to show.
Hey, it would not be a real show with me on it if there wasn't a blooper.
I know you did it on purpose to give Abby some material, but all right. The recipe, we will try to get that up on the site, but I also will put it up, take a screenshot right now. We'll give it everybody just a few minutes to take a screenshot. We'll try to put it on the Friends, My Girlfriends, or on the site. But I also want to remind everybody, coming up next week, we have another SWIG event. Have you two attended a SWIG event?
No.
I haven't had a
Oh
chance
my
either.
I really wanted to go to the kids one, and I forget what I was doing, and I missed it. I was bummed.
You were on vacation.
Okay, that's what it was.
All right. Well,
I have nothing
because
for
you
you.
had an assignment and I had to fill in, Crystal. That's why I know.
Right.
But this SWIG is going to be so fun. SWIG stands for Show and Sell with the Girlfriends, and we are talking all things Caterpillar. Now, I know that you guys have been lucky enough to test out Caterpillar back over in Kits and Creative. I actually bought a Caterpillar, finally drug it out, love it. But we're going to have Jack from Caterpillar, who I hear is a show in and of himself.
He is funny.
Yeah, you have worked with him.
Yes, yes.
And so even if you're like, you know what, I have no need whatsoever to buy anything Caterpillar, just tune in for the show. I mean,
Yep.
but that's coming up on August 15th at 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. So mark your calendars. We're so excited for the next SWIG show. Lots of times they're about huge things, big machines,
Yeah.
but you know what? Everybody can use something from Caterpillar, and the best way to do is watch it in the studio when you
I know.
can
How
ask
do you
the
know what
questions.
you need if you don't watch this?
Right. And if you watch
Right?
SWIG, there's always great giveaways. There's always, I mean, just all kinds of fun things. It's really fun. So a great way to spend the evenings. The Olympics will be over, so I mean, there's no excuse.
Right,
Who
absolutely.
wants to watch Dateline on TV? I mean, that's what Hulu's for, right? So, all right. Well, we'll see most of you tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow. But that's it for this week. We have a really fun 3 at 3 next week. So set your alarms on your phones if you don't want to miss next week's show. It's all about, can I give a little hint?
A little.
A little hint. It's all about vacations.
Yeah.
You guys, I mean,
So,
I've already seen one of the projects.
you have?
Well, yeah.
All right. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. We love you. We will miss all of our girlfriends and guy friends, and lots of hugs and love, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.